Welcome back, everybody. It's Wednesday. Oh, man. I like Wednesday. It's a good day. Way better than Monday. About 25% better, I would say, than a Monday. Hope you're doing great. Man, we are just kicking it old school. The shower door professionals. See what you guys have to say about stuff. I'm always interested and I always learn stuff. It seems like I'm always learning stuff. I like that. I didn't like it that much when I was in school. I really didn't want to learn. But of course, I knew everything back then. But now I don't know hardly anything. It's great. So I get to come and hang out with you guys, see what you got to say. Um, so what's our topic tonight? Let me look it up. Tonight we're going to talk about work-life balance. Man, that sounds like a good topic. I don't think we've ever discussed this before. Work-life balance and employee well-being. We're going to talk about strategies for maintaining a healthy work-life balance. Wow, is there such a thing as that? Improving mental health at work, enhancing employee happiness. How about owner happiness? That would be good too. And tips for creating a positive workplace culture and reducing burnout. Yeah, that's a good thing to reduce, the old burnout. What about this, you guys? You ever think about this? You got any kind of systems in place to make sure that people are getting refreshed and not working your fingers to the bone? Hmm. Curious to hear what you have to say about it. This may be the most
I
difficult topic we've ever had.
I don't think I have much to say about it other than the fact that I could probably use some tips right about now because it seems like a lot of our guys are just frustrated to hell sometimes. We've got a few people that are all hurting and lagging and lacking in health. So it's like, what do we do to get them back up to speed? And yeah, so it's interesting. And then managing the workloads for them and sometimes they get mad because they're being underworked and underutilized, and then sometimes there's too much the next time, you know. So it's like it's interesting. So, what kind of tips you got to fix that?
Nice.
I
We
don't
had a
have it.
lot of we tried a lot of different things like on health wise for body wise there was stretching in the morning. Trying some coaches we had followed had talked about having a check-in in the morning where you stretched and did all that and gave the stats for like workplace injuries that had to do with people that stretched versus didn't, and that stat was important enough because if they hurt their back, there goes your expected numbers of installations for the week, especially if it's like one of your clutch guys. Like no matter how badass he is, the younger you are, the more you push through these injuries. The older you are, the more you just can't. And like that's kind of a stretching was a cool thing. We have some guys where we notice if they're stopping at 7-Eleven and fast food, then they're not doing all the healthy stuff they were doing like in the year before when they were bringing their salads, bringing their meal preps, sharing healthy stuff. Like that person that showed up to work all the time when we knew he was personally motivated in all these ways was a killer employee versus when we knew he was off his diet. It's like it was a great sign that expect two instead of four installs today from that kind of person. But from team building and then checking in with employees was huge. There was a large portion of the time where the focus was making everyone take a personality assessment and then trying to shape some sort of vision of what do you want from this company? Are you here for a year? Are you here for three? Are you here for life? Like, what are you also working on the side? So we had a realistic expectation of what they at least told us they wanted to do. And if we can map their career with us around their goal, like a certain guy came from the post office, wanted a set schedule, 8 a.m., 5 p.m., wanted set responsibilities, and would call HR on you like he's like by the book. but he would show up on time, leave on time. There's no overtime, not 501, absolutely not. He takes his lunch on time, but he was the best shop guy we could have ever asked for. But that was his preference, while other people said, give me the morning, give me the night. And if we try to force everyone into, you're going to work when we say, or you're going to work this set schedule, we might lose the guy who wanted overtime and had nothing but time to crush it. While versus losing the guy who just wants to get off at 5. So trying to find out where they're at, where do they want to be, how long they plan on being with us. And then you're going to waste a lot of time on training, on employee mapping, and all this investment you do on a certain person who was just with you to get 17 an hour so that they could get the other company to pay them 18. And then you were used and they're out the door. And when you do a little research, you realize this is what they do. So like trying to have some sort of audits on who they are, where they're from, but then a map of where they want to be, because you might find those clutch people that you just make the right career format for them and they're with you for years just from that aspect alone, because you don't make their life hard, and at least their way to make income is something they enjoy instead of like stressing and having to be a burden of Monday and thank God it's Friday kind of routine.
Those are some excellent points. Because different people are different, and it takes time to get to know people, right? And to get to know people personally and their personalities and stuff. And it's hard when you're an owner or even just a manager, and you're expected to make sure that your crews get stuff done, to take the time that it takes to talk to people, maybe sit down and have a cup of coffee with somebody on company time, right? Where it looks like you're not doing any work, but you're getting to know somebody and you're finding out what they're challenged with at work, what they're challenged with at home, and what their needs are and how you can best make them, the best employee they can be, because really everybody wants that. I mean, anybody who you want on your crew wants that. I mean, there are people that don't want that at all. You don't want to be anywhere near those people. But the people that you want on your team maybe want different things, and there are different seasons in life too, right? I mean, it's like when you're young, you might just want to work all the time. That may be your goal, is just to like work as many hours as you can. And that's where you find fulfillment, and that's where you find balance for a time. Maybe there's a couple of years of your life like that. Whereas people who are nearing retirement may have a totally different, goal.
There's something I kind of try to do, I think, is also pitch in and help when I don't necessarily need to help, but do it just because, to let them know that I'm still there to help and that I'll do things that we expect them to do, and I'll still do them. So like yesterday or the day before, we had a 68 by 90 something inch panel that had to go upstairs for a bathroom, and it was, there was a soffit, so it was a heavy piece of glass, and it had to go upstairs. And nobody wants to do that. So I was like, what the hell? Let me go do it. I said, I'll go and you go and me and you'll do it. So we had a third person to kind of help and watch and sometimes pitching in on the heavy stuff and letting them know that you're still there to lift and do things, and you're not gonna always make them do the heavy lifting all the time. So I don't know. That's something that I like to do, making sure that I'm willing to help.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I like that. Yep.
was that a
But
ghost I just saw?
yeah, I think so. Had a guy with a funny name was trying to get in to the call.
Oh yeah, I just kicked them
Yeah,
immediately.
I don't.
I didn't no good vibe. I didn't get a good.
Good eye, good eye.
Was it an AI bot?
Maybe. I think probably
No,
like
this
those Zoom bombers trying to get
Mm-hmm.
in. Yeah. Yeah, I saw Keith there for a second. Maybe he lost his connection. I'd be curious to hear what Keith has to say. He's got a lot of experience with a lot of employees. Who else wants to in on this? What about, that work-life balance for your employees, keeping them from getting burned out? How do you approach that?
I can't speak on the work-life balance thing, but I did hear some sort of incentive from my coaching program that I thought was kind of cool that may apply. And we're too small to implement it, but it was kind of neat. It was a landscaping company that did this, and they had probably 10 crews that would go around. And he was calculating all the wasted time that the crews would go out in the morning and go to the 7-Eleven and get gas, and they'd be in the convenience store and buying all the stuff. So what he did was he brought in like a whole canteen service into his shop in the morning and provided everything for free as an incentive for his guys. So you didn't have to pay for the Gatorade or the snacks or anything. Just come in the morning and it was all provided for free. You didn't have to waste your money at the 7-Eleven. So it was an incentive when he hired guys that all the crap that you would buy in the morning would be there for free. But he also saved money because they weren't stopping and pissing around at the gas station for 20 minutes. And he also brought pumps into his shop so they would have their trucks fueled and all their equipment fueled right there at the shop in the beginning of the day and just leave right from site. And he calculated that just the amount of hours he saved offset the cost of the stuff like the canteen service, and he saved 90,000 a year in labor.
Wow.
And it was a perk to the employees to have all this paid for.
Nice. That's clever.
Yeah. So work-life balance, no, but it was kind of a cool incentive and just a little gimmick that worked for him.
Yeah. Yeah, and one thing that I always implemented when I was managing guys was paid lunch. I always paid guys for their lunch. And so they didn't have to work 8.5 hours to get an 8 hour paycheck, right? Got 8 hours. They could start at, 9, get off at 4, whatever, 8 to 4, 9 to 5, whatever. Um, get paid for 8 hours and take a lunch. And I'd pay them for their lunch. And to some people, that sounds like not a very big thing. To some people, it sounds like a really big thing, a really huge deal. But what I found was that guys really appreciated it because it was something that they didn't experience anywhere else. Nobody else ever paid them to take their lunch break. And that they would take a short break. I mean, they like would never take, we know, rarely. I mean, if I was around, they would do, we'd take a whole hour. But if I wasn't there, they'd take 15 minutes and get back to work because they just like, I don't know, felt guilty about it or whatever. And it like totally is not the intention at all. The intention was really to just give them, that little appreciation. Um, and I swear I know that I got better quality time, like, better work for my crews by doing that. I swear to it. And it was just something that I just, yeah, I always implemented. Um, and there's not that many things that you can do, especially if you're not a big shop, and you don't have a ton of resources. There's not really all that many things you can do for your guys. Really, that's, um, because you can't afford to, But I mean, that's something that anybody can do, and it's just it's a little incentive, and it's a trust thing too. It's a statement of like, hey, I trust you. You know, I believe in you. I believe you're not going to take advantage of me. You know, and for the most, there's always that one off. But for the most part, it was like it worked out to be a good deal. And if somebody couldn't, handle that, then they probably weren't a good fit anyway. And my experience has always been like, if you have to talk to somebody about the rules all the time, they probably are in the wrong place. You know, I mean, if you don't have the common sense to figure out like how to act on the job, you probably shouldn't be working with heavy, sharp stuff. You know, you should probably like be cleaning porta potties or something like that. You know, you should be doing something where you're not going to hurt yourself or other people if you don't have common sense. That's just kind of the way I see it.
You know, Chris, I'm going to chime in here. I'm a little bit late to the conversation, but I think this subject's fascinating for me. I've struggled with how do you can keep up morale? You know, how do you um, motivate guys? I've been blessed over the years. I've owned my company for 21 years. I've been blessed with a lot of long-term employees and not a whole heck of a lot of turnover. I've got a pretty good core group. But within that group, you know, the age variation and personality variation is pretty widespread. And the thing that has been difficult to manage is, for instance, I have one lady who's been with me for 15 years, old school mentality, old school work ethic. It would be hard pressed to find anything negative about her, but she's dot your I's, cross your T's, doesn't believe in, she believes work comes first. I believe, then I have a new generation or a newer generation where, you know, they have kids, they have some babysitting issues, they have a personal life that some days they need to leave early.
Mm-hmm.
And managing that attitude from her, like, you never miss work. She never misses work. She's never late. She never calls off. But the perception when somebody else does, they want to take their lunch at 3 o'clock versus at noon. I don't care. You know, half the time they'll answer a call when I call them on their lunch, or text them, or if I need something. It's this dynamic that, you know, that I deal with between various generations. And I don't know what the answer is. I realize people have lives. Work's not their 100% commitment. You know, if they're putting out for me and they need to leave at 4 or 3:30, I don't really, you know, I can deal with that. Is the commitments getting done? But I have struggled for years. Like, you know, I mean, I've done cookouts where I cook for them. I don't buy the food, you know, order the food out. You know, cook them, show appreciation, do what Daniel said. I'll go out on the job. They see me clean the toilets, and I'm not doing that, you know, because I guess in a bragging way, I feel like I've never owned a, you know, 21 years ago, I was an employee. I was an employee my entire life. And it's just what you did. But more than anything, it's balancing that mentality of, hey, you know, you got this old school mentality, then you have a younger generation, you have some in-betweens. And I'm not going to lie, I have struggled with that because there's days you come in, there's some long faces. Everybody's happy, she's not. She's happy, they're not. You know, I'll take any gems of wisdom anybody on here wants to offer, but I have certainly struggled with that.
Yeah, and I don't think there's really any shortcut to that. You know, it's getting to know all those different people and all their different, you know, idiosyncrasies and all their different preferences, and trying your best to cater to them, you know, within reason. I mean, you always run the risk of becoming, you know, codependent. You know, you don't want to enable someone to be, you know, uh I don't know. You know what I mean? You don't want to help them so much that it's a detriment, right?
Yeah, I'll
But
give you an example. Memorial Day, I had a cookout. You know, I bring the grill out. I tell everybody, schedule work all morning, be back by 1. we're going to enjoy the afternoon. This particular person stays in her office, works nonstop, won't come out and socialize. And everybody's coming to me and say, "What's wrong with so and so? What's wrong with so and so?" The offer to come in. Hey, listen, this is kind of my way of saying thanks. We've busted our tail for the first half of the year or so. Why don't you come out, get something to eat? And to the point you want to scream. You want to scream and say, this is not the environment. I didn't want this. I don't want a conflict or a tense environment today. I wanted to let you all know that I'm going to let you eat. I'm going to cook for you. Then if you want to leave at 2 o'clock, leave. I'm going to pay you for 8. It's just a small token of my appreciation. And you got one apple who's saying, that's not how I play. So,
Wow.
I think we all have that same thing, and I don't necessarily think it's up to us to say how they receive it. Like it's up to them to receive it, how they
good
want to
point.
receive it, and you can only do so much at a certain point. So that's we can't make unhappy people happy or make their personalities different, so we can't make them receive it the way we want them to receive it. Sometimes we got to let them do their thing, and that's just the way they are, and we have to kind of understand and accept that to an extent, within boundaries. So there's certain people that don't even want to be around social people, you know what I'm saying? So I kind of get that. You
I
want
think you're
them
right. I
you
agree
want
with you,
them to
Daniel.
be a part of it.
Maybe it's my problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it is. Like we want them, everybody, to love everybody and enjoy everybody and be a part of a big old nice lovely team and family. And some people, they just want to go work, and they just want after like I don't, it is whatever. It's a personality thing, and you kind of enjoy that person for that when it's good for that person, when it's good for us. But then when we want them to be somebody else, we don't get to choose that. It's not our choice to
Right.
Well, I
do that.
mean, I would respectfully disagree. I think it is our jobs as the owners or managers, whoever we have on, I'm an owner. I think it's my job to set the culture.
Mhm.
And if someone is not fitting in the culture, shame on me for
Mhm.
letting it be that way. We have control of who we bring. Now, of course, Daniel, I'm not disagreeing, that there are going to be people um, that don't jive in group settings. But again, it is our responsibility to make that culture, to set the culture within our companies, and we put those people in places. Now, if they're irreplaceable, well, that's a decision we have to make. But I think ultimately,
Yeah.
that's that is our role. And I have this talk almost every team meeting, where we talk about coming in with positivity, coming in with good energy. We have bad days, we understand, but it's contagious, and we don't want to reciprocate those feelings, and so on. And so, you know, that's just how I look at it. So I just wouldn't say it is on them, but it's our job to implement the culture, right? That's ultimately what I'm saying.
Well, how do you think you would address this, Saul? Like you say you're in the same situation Mike's describing, What do you how do you think you would deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the reason why why I bring them up on team meetings, right? So every Tuesday morning I have a team meeting. I don't call anyone out specifically, although there was probably something that happened within the week that didn't fit in terms of personality, and so and the positivity that I wanted within the group. And so I will always do it at the team meeting, and I will always say, here's the expectation, here's what I'd like to see, what we need to do a better job of. And I did. I mean, I've had a couple cancers in the company, and I said I'm not going to do it again. If this is the energy that you can't bring on a majority basis, then this is just not the place for you, right? And so I do it in a group setting. If it gets bad, I'll one off. I will always one off, but it's usually quick. Like, hey, lately you've come in with, this a bad attitude, not being, is everything okay? Everything's fine. Oh, they've always got something, right? But we all have something in our lives, right? We all have something in our lives. And we have to make a conscious decision when we come into work or we're interacting with people. We have to make a conscious decision on how we are going to be in terms of our energy. And my expectation now, is that it's going to be positive. And if it's just not a place for you. I went down the road of not nipping that in the bud, and now I'm very adamant about it.
Wow. I mean, it's a good angle, actually. I mean, I'm kind of caught by surprise a little bit by your take. But as I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about it, I think I like it. Because like you're right. I mean, it is your job to set the tone at work. And if the assignment for today is to sit down and have like a cookie, I mean, you can't make somebody have the cookie, right? I mean, if they don't eat cookies, but or barbecue or whatever it is that you're serving, but it's like, but you can, I think, expect a person to participate in that. I mean, if you were sending them off to do an installation, they don't get to pick or choose whether they do that installation. They need to
Absolutely.
go do that
Well, they don't
installation.
get to pick or choose whether they're being polite to the customer. They have to be polite to the customer,
Yeah,
right? And there's no reason that that same person shouldn't be polite, and courteous when everyone's getting together for the barbecue, that person comes out and communicates and integrates. And there's a reason, I don't know the name, MJ Maz. There's a reason that he's doing it, and he's doing it for team bonding. And here is someone who is purposely not trying to bond.
Mhm.
And I think that goes against the culture of the company.
Mhm. I agree with what you're saying, and so this is going to sound like an excuse, okay? So this person, and we all have specific examples, but this person's been with me for 15 years, and she was with me when we were a very small shop, and she kind of controlled everything, and totally trustworthy. As the years went by, and we got bigger and grew, and we needed help inside, and I did bring somebody in, another a younger person who uh, very good worker, very smart, took to our business really well. I think the older person felt threatened, right? But so I struggle, and again, called an excuse, but I struggle with the fact that at what point does loyalty, your loyalty to somebody who has given you 14 or 15 years,
Absolutely.
and then you're bound, and then you have this face. I'm a positive person, man. I roll into the door each morning thinking, let's go. And I
Right.
think that she's a one-off in my company. I have a lot of guys, yeah, they all have some moods at times, but they're like, hey, let's go get it. And there's a lot of I try to express a lot of positivity and hey, you guys did a great job. This install was difficult. But I'm here to tell you, maybe it's a weakness of me, but I find like cutting her off the knees after 15 years and given the type of loyalty she's expressed to me,
Is
a
not
difficult decision.
absolutely. So I'll say two things to that, because I had the exact same there. I had someone who was with me from the start. He was with me for 3 years, had a bad attitude. He was the one I was talking about in terms of cancer, but he was there when I didn't have it. Like when I was in trouble, like he always stepped up. I've got tons of stories. He ended up, 6 months ago, he ended up giving me a month notice because that's the guy who he was, and because he was driving too far. Long story short, the other guys were like, "Hey, how long before he asks for his job back?" And I was like, he'll ask for it back." It wasn't 2 weeks. He called me and he said, "Hey, can I have my job back?" And I told him no, and he was shocked. Right? This is someone I was loyal to, but I wouldn't hire him again because of the culture and because of
Yeah.
the energy that he brought. So I understand. Now, 14 years, that's a far different story. I'm not in your shoes. I can't tell you. But what I will say is I read a book once called What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And it was a phenomenal book. And the title kind of says it all, right? Like what the actions that you took to get where you are today you had to take, right? And those actions led you here. Many business owners continue to do those same actions, thinking it's going to take them to the next level, whatever that next level is, right? And that book kind of flips everything on its side. It said, hey, everything that you did, everything, all the policies and procedural stuff and all the different, techniques you did to get here are not the same techniques that are going to get you where you want to go. And so I'm not in your shoes. I can't tell you what to do
Yeah.
right with someone like that. That's so hard. 14, 15 years, I get the loyalty. And I wouldn't want to be in that position. I would just tell you, in my position, here with someone with 3 years, I love the guy. He can install any shower. I've got deficiencies now because he's gone and I'm losing some. He could install any shower I needed him. He knew everyone. He's done it. He's been glazing for 20 years. But I didn't give him his job back even after 2 weeks of him being gone and the position still being open because I'm trying to change the culture of the company. And so
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by glassgadget.com. Showcase Innovations creates tools that help shower door installers be more efficient and save time. Check out glassgadget.com for more information.
that was my
Kudos to you.
decision.
Yeah, kudos to you. I understand, but I'm
Yeah.
just in a pickle. But
Yeah, of course.
this culture thing is so important. I don't want to be sad. I don't want to be apprehensive when I walk in my own building. I want to be, let's go type.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So no, I appreciate your words.
It's a tough position. 15 years. It's a long amount of time.
We have people like that too. It's very difficult and hard to approach. Like there's some older guys that have that, they're possibly that cancer a little bit, and then one of them even essentially saved my life, when I got cut. So it's like, how do you separate from that? It's like, no, I don't owe you a job because you saved my life, but I owe you a life-saving, like it's, what do you do there? Like
One life.
I owe you a life, but I don't owe you a job. But it's like, Jesus, what the hell do you do there? So that's, and we got people like that have been with us for 10 plus years, but the attitude, it's like you wish you could just change it. So it's getting rid of them and replacing the deficiencies is a very hard choice to make, but it's necessary, but it's very difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, tell me this, Mike. Have you ever sat down with this person and told them how you feel?
Numerous times, Chris.
Really?
I mean, we've had numerous, I'll call them knee to knee conversations, not across the desk, but knee to knee. And when I think there's been times where she says she's felt underappreciated, which it's hard for me to understand. I try to express appreciation each and every day, but I think there's, like I said, there's an age difference, a significant age difference of 30 some years. And I think she felt the fact that she went from being the queen bee, doing everything for me, to, we delegated responsibilities. And I even included her into that. Like, what can I take off your plate and, give to the new person? There's just managing this personality that I'm really not good at. I'll just be honest with you. I'm not good at. And but yeah, we've talked, expressed appreciation. Tell me how I can make this better. What do you need from me? Type things. But it's been a struggle.
Wow.
I'm not gonna lie.
That is tough, man. I know. It's like those human relationships are the most complicated part of everything, of life, let alone business, everything, and it sounds like really there was an opportunity here for her to probably be promoted.
Mm-hmm.
If she was doing so much and was so busy that you had to hire somebody to take part of her job, then there was probably an opportunity at that point for her to say, wow, thanks a lot. And like, what's my new position going to be, and like, are you're expecting me to manage, or whatever. I mean, I would think that would be an opportunity for a promotion, rather than getting a bad attitude and getting butt hurt and feeling like victimized, right? I mean, that's such a lesson such a life lesson for like how you decide to look at each situation. Um, you can choose to be negative about it, or you can choose to be positive and assume the best, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, make them still feel needed in some way, whether it's like documenting the processes that they've gotten so good at. Like times are evolving, we need your help. Like you've forgotten more things than the other people even know, but times are changing and I need your help, like adjusting this. Can you take the role to mentor these guys, fill in the gaps of what they don't know, and they can fill in the gaps for you? There's a big, like, I guess, acknowledge directly. There's a big difference in culture and work ethic. There's nothing we can do about it. I need your help managing the reality that we have today if we want to keep these guys staffed. Because if you do it the other way of our way or the highway, they go the highway now because there's so many options and alternatives that'll fit their work-life balance. And if we can meet them where they're at, we'll keep them. And she liked any of them that like are good kids and just need a little kick in the butt, or some of them might be actually be she vibes with if they could be like the first people she partners with to guide, or simply putting in her own role to document her processes, to manage what it looks like to scale what she does. And instead of her carrying the workload, she documents how they need to be doing it, and her job becomes the person who makes sure the other five people are doing it right, because she's done it so long she can see it like nothing, whatever that might be. But that's where they still feel valued and not replaced. Their actions are replaced, but in a man, we're building this together way, instead of what am I going to do about my future way? Because that's scary for people who don't have other skill sets and feel like they work themselves out of their own future. That's a real issue nowadays. Technological unemployment and just unemployment in general at scale because of all these other factors that are coming in is real. The more people can feel safe and protected, I think the less they'll look around the corner at that shiny new thing.
I appreciate that, Rob.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, I'm going through the exact same thing with, employee number one. He's my first hire, and it's the same thing. It's an age thing here. He's 62. My next guy in the field, next oldest guy, is 32.
Yeah.
So, and then they get younger from there. So, but when he came on, it was just him and I. So, and I think truthfully, he thought it was just going to be a slower pace until retirement. Now there's 9 of us, and he just didn't expect the growth. So there's definitely this pushback, and there's this resistance, and it was getting worse and worse and worse, and it really came to a head, and we were having battles almost. Like there was just such pushback with him and me and him and staff, and just attitude galore. It got to the point where I've outsourced HR now. And what we did is we did a whole new employee handbook. And this actually just got presented to everyone 2 weeks ago. So we detailed, like just going through the HR rep, detailed all the concerns and everything we had. And we just did a whole presentation with a new mission statement, vision, values, and then clear expectations from everyone on how we were managing every role, attitude, in the shop, out of the shop, everything. Like try to get as crystal clear as possible, a whole crystal clear agenda on what our expectations were, and then sign off on it. And it was literally the next day after that meeting, he came up to me and said, I'm just going to slowly go into retirement. He went down to 3 days a week the following week. So
Oh, he made the decision for you then, didn't he? Right?
he made the decision for me that he was going to go part-time here on in, and then by winter he just wants to be laid off. So
I'll continue my vulnerability here. One of the, when I bought my business, I knew nothing about glass. I mean, that's another story in itself. But you survive, and instead of putting procedures and policies in place, it's just like, dude, let's just get this done. If I find a warm body who can install, we're going to run. We're going to use it. And if you're late, I'll just put up with it. And so I made a myriad of mistakes. But one of the things that I've realized, and I've tried to implement over the years, is what you just said, is defining roles and responsibilities as much as you can. So if you hire an office manager, what do you want me to do? What's my role? You hire a technician, whether it be entry level, now you got to, or a senior tech. What is your role and your responsibility? What's the expectation? I did it all for years. I installed, you did payroll, you cleaned up, and I have so you look at an organization chart, which I never had a formal organization chart. Like who reports to who? If Mike's not there, who calls the shots? I still sketch that stuff out, and like
that's what we're working on right now is an actual proper org chart. And how this is going to grow as the company grows to fill the holes. I mean, we're trying to get there, but we're trying to, where are we here and where are we growing? This is what I'm working with coaching with now is like, okay, we finally kind of got our shit together.
Yeah.
But it's now, okay, we've got our bearings. Where are we at and where are we growing? Where does everyone fit?
And I would encourage you, here I am, 21 years in, I'm 63 years old. I'd like to probably sell in the next year or two. But to me, it's it's mission, a critical mission, and you should have it. It's not a bunch of, grad school bullshit type talk. It's important that people, when they roll in the door, they go, here, you say, here's where you are in this organization. Here's where you can get to in this organization. And here's the expectations that, as you grow, what we expect. I have failed at that. I'm not going to lie to you all. I have struggled with that. I think we've gotten better over the last several years, but I think your life as an owner gets better if you have that clarity in your organization. Keep doing it, man. That's all I would encourage you to.
I just find it, it's too easy for me to just pick up everything and I'll just do it myself because it's easier rather than let's start delegating to the right people, give everyone clear roles and responsibilities, and show people the right path to get everything done. So
yeah. Thanks, Daniel.
Yeah, that's funny,
for
Daniel.
a word from our sponsors.
We've got the whole library.
It's all here, man. Everything you guys are talking about.
Now you're reading those books, right?
What?
You're reading those books, right?
I didn't.
Only work if you read them.
You didn't know? I don't know. I don't know how to read. Audiobooks only for me.
There you go. I like audiobooks.
That's great.
I'll usually buy the actual hardcover book just out of guilt after I've listened to the audiobook 4 times.
I've read them. I just thought it'd be fun to go grab it since Sal was talking about it. So it's a good one. Like they're hard decisions to make sometimes, but it's the part of being a business owner, isn't it? I mean, we get to deal with the shit and we get to deal with the fun stuff too. So
I'm still waiting for the fun stuff. So let me know when it comes.
The fun stuff, I say, if you made payroll this week, congratulations. You did great.
Fun. That's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, you made payroll. You did great. I mean, everybody got a check, right? Or you're doing great.
Fair. That's fair.
So,
hey, Ryan, question for you. How many employees do you have at your company?
So 8 employees, 9 with me.
And you felt it beneficial to outsource HR?
Yeah.
How long did you do that? Made that decision?
We just started it, so we're only we're on our 2nd month of that now.
What do you feel like they're going to do for you?
So they went through building the employee handbook, worked with us with the mission statement, vision, values, all that stuff. It's part of coaching and stuff too, but going through stuff again, just even the legal parameters of my employee going from full-time to part-time, just putting the draft together to make sure that it was his choice, not mine, so that if it ever went back on me, that he made the choice to go part-time, and I'm not going to get back charged for full-time hours if anything were to ever happen. For example, he no longer qualifies for benefits because he's part-time. So if anything were to ever come back to that, it was his choice. So that's all been documented now by third-party HR, and he signed off on it. So it's just another step in the right direction. It's just a barrier between, so it's not a he said type thing. There's just a nice entity in there to make sure it's all clean cut. And
What else are they going to do for you? Like, do you know? Do you have a good grasp on that yet?
well, they'll do anything I need them to do. Like they'll take care of any onboarding. They do job interviews if I want them to do that.
Okay.
Like all that sort of stuff. Even
Okay.
even like running the ads if I want. So they come up with all the questions that I need for it so that they're all uniform. Like I only found that out recently too, that if I don't have my questions for each interview candidate written out in the same, technically, if I ask someone different interviews and the Ministry of Labor finds out that I was asking people different questions, I can be penalized or charged for that because I might be favoring another candidate over another. I had no idea. So they take care of that sort of stuff. This is all
Okay.
new to me. So I mean,
Yeah. Okay.
I hired people just by poaching them from other companies that I worked for in the past or I knew and said, hey, do you need a job? So
Right.
now it's a little different.
Oh. Yeah, there's a lot of snafus that you can get yourself into, around like having employees and how you handle them and stuff. It's not a bad idea to outsource that. I remember like years ago when I had, a number of employees, I had ADP come in and do my payroll. And they actually did all of that stuff that you're talking about. I didn't realize that they're like, hey, we'll put together, it was just part of the package. We'll put together your employee handbook and everything, all the, the application stuff, and just make everything really uniform and stuff like that. And it makes a difference, especially if you end up, somebody saying that you harassed them or you did something or whatever, or they're not being treated fairly or something. It's great to have a paper trail of like, well, here, let's look at the records. And if you don't have that,
Yeah. And I'm no longer the point of contact for it. Now it's the HR rep, not me. So if I'm in the middle
That's
of the day, I don't have to deal with it. They have a point of contact. They start documenting it, not me in the middle of, measuring a shower or doing something else. I don't have to worry about someone's feelings being hurt.
ooh, yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
yeah.
Nowadays,
Yeah.
it's different than when I was a teenager, that's for sure.
I mean,
So
most of us still follow under the 25 employee rule, right? With less than 25 employees, we're still a small business, with state laws. Federal laws really don't apply to a lot of us.
Mhm.
And Ryan's in Canada. I'm sure it's a little more stringent there.
Yeah, we're screwed either way. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure. It's good stuff.
I did that human resources thing too several years ago, for a lot of the reasons that you're talking about, Ryan. One of the things that I think in reflecting back on it, they wanted a monthly fee, which I would never do again. I would ask what they charge for like one-time type things. I mean, everybody's situation is different. I think I spent too much money. They'd help you through interviews. They do all that other things you're talking about. I just felt like in the end, when I look back on it, did I use them every week? No. Every month? Really, no. There were times when I'd have a flare up, somebody come in and there'd be an issue that I couldn't really solve, and I'd call them. I went to I actually, the next step was I said, what if what would you charge me if I just need you for, a particular situation? And I went to that for a while, and then I kind of reverted back to just me kind of being the guy. I just felt like I was spending too much money. I hope, and that in your case, it benefits you and kind of takes a lot of stress off of you. I would just caution you from a I don't know how they're charging you, but I don't know if I'd enter into a monthly like type fee versus maybe just an as needed fee.
I think once the system's built, then I would be happy to get rid of it.
Yeah, that's
Didn't want to
okay.
build the system from scratch. So at
Yep.
least then I know, like, once the documents are there,
Yeah.
and I'm sure I can lather, rinse, repeat. If
Yeah. Yeah.
like my
Yeah.
office manager can probably take care of it at that point,
Yeah.
and then be an HR rep in-house at
Yeah.
that point. So
Mhm. Yeah, maybe. And, and it all depends on where you're going, right? I mean, if
Right.
you're planning on like tripling the size of your business, then it
Mhm.
may make perfect sense to have that. And that may be a really reasonable expense to have. If you're really gonna be growing. I mean, if you're someone who's gonna plan and it's kind of staying where you're at as far as growth or as far as your size, then yeah, you may want to think about like, being more conservative or something like that.
right,
It all depends, man. I mean, if you're thinking, man, I'm gonna grow this thing to 100 employees, well, you're gonna want that company.
Mhm.
sure, yeah.
You're gonna
Well,
want, and that's it. Everybody's got, a little bit different goals and aspirations, stuff like that. So you sound like you're like going for it, man. You know, I've
Good.
I've heard, I've heard, like you've invested in some really nice equipment and you've kind of taken the high road, on a lot of stuff, man. I commend you for that. I think it's a smart play. I mean, it's risky. It's risky, but risk reward, man, that's how it works. And it's like if you're willing to go for it, man, you might be on the right track there. Just saying.
Well, I just find the competition around here, and then it's just they seem to be well, and even being at different glass build events, it's much more prehistoric here. We're always behind up here. So that's the benefit of going to the like glass build. You come back with some of this technology, you bring it, you're first to market with these things. So you can kind of advance the ball and just move things along. And no one else seems to do it. So I think it really puts me at a competitive edge and gives me the opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
No one else seems willing to.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and it puts you in a position to ask for the higher end of the market too.
Yeah.
Of being able to cater to people who have money. They're looking for someone who's got all the technology and is the latest, greatest techniques and everything. I mean, if you're willing to invest like that, you can set your pricing, accordingly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's some good stuff, man.
There's you a fun topic. Pricing for next week. Talk about price increases.
Ooh, pricing. Yeah, that should be our topic.
I just got an email from Truelight. Their pricing is going up.
Next week.
Are they telling you how much?
No, they said no, I haven't gotten the official letter yet. It was just an email from my rep.
Okay, just kind of a little heads up.
I
Yeah.
got two warning or two notices at 25%.
Whoa, for who?
Well, I have to buy through wholesalers, but they get their glass from Guardian. A lot of it's from Guardian in vitro. But they said be prepared for something upwards of 25%, which is
That's wild.
it's insane.
That's
We're hearing
wild.
25% from Vitro up here too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard something like 30%, actually.
Yeah.
So 25 is a little lower than what I heard.
I'm sure you guys do it, but every quote we put out, there has to be a qualifier, or not a qualifier, but a comment in there that the quote's valid for X number of days from, that date. I mean, I said 30 days, but hell, now I have to say they think it's going to be effective July 1. I can't tell you how many, several hundreds, almost $1 million worth of commercial jobs that we've bid. And, sometimes you don't get awarded for a while. And then
Yeah.
no one's going to hold. No one's going to hold that price for you. So, yeah, that's a hell of an increase, though.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. And if you just got a quote from your supplier and I'm sure they'll honor it
Yeah, they do.
but yeah, it's time to start telling customers, hey, prices are going up. It's like,
That's one reason why we don't do contracts with builders, like as far as like yearly contracts.
Right.
We won't do that with production. We don't do any production stuff where we're signing contracts like that.
Smart.
Well, you're saying fixed pricing?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
some of the production builders want you to be on a contract, and we're not about that.
Yeah. Well, I think pricing would be a good topic to discuss next week as well. How we
awesome.
all price our different jobs and partitions or railings, different types of showers. Everyone's got a different approach to it, so I think that's interesting.
Consider it done.
Another topic I don't know if you've ever had is has anyone ever consolidated the market, buying other smaller glass companies within their area and trying to consolidate that way? I think that'd be an interesting topic. How to do it, if it's ever been done. I'm sure it's been done, but anyone on the call, partnering with other glass companies, stuff like that.
I think it's a great topic.
I heard Royal Glass is possibly wanting to sell in about a year or two.
Well, come on down. As
I
they
heard
say
I heard that too.
on The Price is Right. Come on down, boys.
Nice pitch.
Yeah. Great
Yeah.
market.
Little softball underhand there.
There you
Yeah.
go.
When you're listening to this podcast, next week there's going to be some glass shops for sale.
Yeah.
Here
It's a
on call. So
pre-sale.
be sure to
Yeah.
get here, man. They're going fast.
Yeah.
West by God, Virginia.
I heard they got employee issues though. I hear they got employee issues.
I don't know what you're talking about, Saul.
Woohoo. Right on, guys. Hey, thanks for hanging out, man, and good talk. That was actually, I was worried there for a minute that it wasn't going to go anywhere, and then boom, it took off. It's great.
All right, awesome.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
See you guys
Chris.
next week, man.
See you later.
See you guys.